вечер. Head table guests, of course, our keynote speaker, Pani Myroslava, who we're delighted to have with us today, Eugene Czolij, Ukrainian World Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inviting me here this evening to speak to you. It's a very important occasion, of course. It's Independence Day, but it's also Black Ribbon Day yesterday. And this is a time that causes us to reflect. It's a day that should be totally joyous, but it's not. Because we reflect on the men and women of the Ukrainian armed forces in Ukraine that are fighting very hard to retain the borders of Ukraine in the east. And let's give a hand to them, because they deserve our support. From where the Ukrainian army was a few months ago, to where they are right now is absolutely significant, and they have done a brilliant job in repelling the invader, and that's what they have, invaders on their territory. My friends, we're all very similar. I come from a Polish background. My parents suffered through Nazism, communism, gulags. My grandfather froze to death in Siberia aboard a train. We all have similar stories from our family, and we all remember this. Nothing has changed in this regard and what is going on in eastern Ukraine right now. The lies are the same. The propaganda is the same. The tactics are the same. And again, we have one man with an ambition that is to aggrandize himself and to build an empire at the expense of others. And Ukraine has suffered far too long, for too many centuries, to have to put up with that today. And Ukraine is an independent, sovereign nation, belongs to a sovereign nation, belongs in a Euro-Atlantic construct. And thank God they've signed the European Union Association Agreement. Thank you. I know you know all of this, with the white trucks and everything that's coming in. So I'm telling you things that you're already very, very well versed on. And I won't recover all of that ground tonight. But there are a couple of things that we do have to remember and recognize about what is going on in eastern Ukraine. These are Russian soldiers. They are Spetsnaz. They are GRU. They are mercenaries from many countries, not just Chechnya, many countries. And they're all interfering in Ukraine. It's in violation of the 1994 Budapest Memorandum. It's in violation of I don't know how many international laws. Right now, Vladimir Putin has broken. Canada has been the strongest country so far in terms of sanctions. Over 189 people sanctioned. We're sanctioning sectorally now, and we've sanctioned many other areas as well. Vladimir Putin, what's he done in return? He has sanctioned all the major countries that provide food to Russia. So he's just sanctioned the Russian people. I don't. You go figure out the common sense in that. But that's the kind of guy that we're dealing with right now in eastern Ukraine, in Russia. We have to repel this man, because what I don't want the world to forget, and it's exceptionally important, John Baird, our foreign minister, when Malaysia Airlines MH17 was shot down, John Baird said, Putin may not have fired the gun, but he most certainly loaded it, because he gave Buk missiles to mercenaries. Yes, thank you. Well, he gave missiles to idiots who misidentified and shot down 298 people. This cannot be forgotten. That is an act of terrorism. That is a criminal act, and an act for which he will have to pay for down the line. Crimea, by the way, I have Anton Sestritsyn with me, who's my intern for the Canada-Ukraine Parliamentary Friendship Group. Anton is from Crimea, and Anton, Crimea is coming back. It might be a longer game, but we're going to get that back for Ukraine, because Ukraine deserves Crimea. Crimea is part of Ukraine. It's Ukrainian territory. Ladies and gentlemen, Prime Minister Harper had said to the G7, and he summed it up in a sentence. And Prime Minister Harper, as you know now, is a very strong leader on the world stage. He is the dean of G7 leaders, being one of the longest serving G7 leaders. And I repeated this, by the way, to the NATO conference in Vilnius a couple of months ago. He said to them, what don't you understand about Vladimir Putin? Vladimir Putin does not want to be your friend. He wants to be your rival. It doesn't get any clearer than that for the world. Now, the world has to start recognizing that because the Russian propaganda, the Russian tactics in eastern Ukraine, the goals of Russia are unacceptable because when they come through Ukraine, they're coming for everybody else as well. And Ukraine is on the pointy end of this stick right now. Ukraine is in the vanguard of this battle, and we support Ukraine. Canada will stand shoulder to shoulder next to Ukraine. We will support Ukraine. We've just sent $5 million worth of non-lethal military equipment, which was asked for by Ukraine. Thank you. My great friend James Bazan from Manitoba and I, when we went to Kharkiv, we had the presidential elections, and then recently we went for the trade mission with the Honorable Ed Fast, and James and I had our own little mission, and that was to find out what was required. And we had those discussions in Kiev, and as a result, that $5 million worth of military equipment was sent very quickly, and we are working on other things, believe me, because Canada stands by Ukraine. Our Prime Minister is supporting Ukraine on the world stage, and he will say that at NATO as well, at the NATO conference coming up in September. So this is a crowd that already knows everything I've already said in spades and more. So, and now we're going to get ready. Jason Kenney, the Honorable Jason Kenney, who is our Minister of Multiculturalism, he has been since 2007, elected in 1997, is on his way. He's stuck in traffic. So Montreal is very much like Toronto right now, and you may as well add 3 hours to anywhere you're going. So it's taking a while, but he should arrive very soon. But we are going to have our keynote speaker coming up soon, and we're going to motivate you for her. Okay, you ready? Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Almost. One more time. Slava Ukraini! Better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Opitz, and thank you in the name of all of our community members. Thank you to the Canadian government for the major significant leadership role that Canada has taken in the vanguard of defending not just Ukraine's rights, but the rights of civilized nations, the rights of international protocols, agreements, of international justice. Thank you, to the Government of Canada, and to Prime Minister Harper.
Ой, ти вже